Good morning and welcome to The Art of Composition. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. I just want to look at another example from the book, The Art of Composition, a simple application of dynamic symmetry. So let me just draw a few lines here. And I'm going to outline these in red. What I want to point out today is how the artist is using the diagonal lines within the root 2 to follow his subject. And let me make that a little bit thicker. But if you notice here on this diagonal line, it's following the angle of this boxer right here. And then his head is tilted down in the same direction as this diagonal line here. And if you notice, right in the vertical division of the root 2 is where it's touching the edge of the glove. And that would be right here. On this side, you have this diagonal line, the man's face, which is following this diagonal line right here. And then, of course, you have this diagonal line being used following the man's head position. And then you have the angle of the jawline right here. And that's following this diagonal line right here. And when you're using dynamic symmetry, these are the elements that you want to look for. And if I draw a horizontal line here, and I'll change this to a dashed line, where these two diagonal lines meet, and let me bring that down right there. I'm catching this arm and the bottom right here, as well as this man's arm. And let me draw that all the way across, just to make it a little bit easier to view. And then if I drop a vertical line right here, where these two diagonal lines meet, and let me move that over right there, I'm framing in this man's face right here, catching that. And then where this diagonal line meets here, I can drop a horizontal line here, which frames in the man's head. Actually, both of them. And then if I draw a vertical right here, where these lines intersect, let me grab them right here, I'm framing in the man on the left. And this is very similar to what I did with the 14-line armature. And then again, where I have this diagonal line here meeting this vertical, I can drop a line here, and it's catching the top of that glove, and it's also crossing the man's eyelid and touching his ear. You will see things line up. You will see things coincide. And I think that's most of the dominant divisions, but I just want to see if there's anything else. I think that's a majority of them. Let me just convert these lines to dashed lines. Make it a little bit easier to see. What I thought I would do is start with a few simple examples, and then I'll move on to something a little bit more complex in Jacob's book. Because he does have examples of more complex designs towards the end. I think they're on page 100. But this gives you a good idea of what's going on here with this simple illustration. But that's going to be it for today. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it as always.